Thy wondrous act and beauteous order stands, and all attest how potent is thy hand.
Phyllis, it's me.
Mr. John Wheatley, thank God it's you. You scared me to death.
My dear Phyllis, my dear Phyllis, who is closer than a daughter.
As any daughter will be honored to call you her father. Now, it is late. Why are you still up?
The time passes so quickly. Where does it go? You're the only family I have left, and soon you will be married and start a family of your own.
I can never forget you.
But it is different when you have a family of your own. The Holy Writ says, flee thy father and mother's house. And for good reason, a man cannot serve two masters, nor can a woman serve two families. I pray you will be happy.
I will, with your blessings, of course.
And that ye shall have. But how successful a businessman is he?
Successful enough to take care of wife.
Oh, all men are that successful, or so they think, until they actually have a wife. Then they find out just how much more success they truly need.
Oh, Mr. John Wheatley, shame on you. I can't believe you would say such a thing.
My dear Mrs. Wheatley, please forgive me. But she knows it's true.
Oh, shame on you.
I miss her so much, and my poor precious little Mary.
Oh, come now. Let's not. You're upsetting yourself again. Come now. They're in a much better place than Boston, in the midst of a revolution. Come on now. Think pleasant thoughts. As a man thinking with his heart,
So is he. It
Yes.
is true. It is true. Well, you should be getting your rest tomorrow. You will be a free woman.
I have always been a free woman under this roof. No piece of paper can give me something I already have.
It is true. Yours was an adoption, not enslavement. But we were your captive from the moment we laid eyes upon you. Mrs. Wheatley chose you, the sickest of all the girls. She said, oh, John, she is a humble child with a modest spirit.
Oh.
And such interesting features.
And you had to ruin it.
No, I mean it in a good way. You were beautiful. And you still are. Oh, my dear child, thank you. I have been feeling a draft all night.
Mr. John Wheatley, that's because your apparel is in reverse.
Oh, my, I must be going again. And you get some sleep. You are still quite fragile. And put away that pen. You will write yourself silly.
But it's a new poem.
Oh, what is it called?
Imagination.
That sounds like a poem for the elderly.
Now, why would you say that?
Well, we'll reach a certain age. Imagination is all we have left.
Good night, Mr. John Wheatley.
Good night, my dear child.
We on pinions can surpass the wind and leave the rolling universe behind. Who can sing thy force or describe the swiftness of thy course? Soaring through the air to find the bright abode, now here, now there, the roving fancy flies. Now here, now there, the roving fancy flies, till some loved object strikes her wondering eye. That's it! Till some loved object.
pistol and have the last shot. There, the snow.
There is no snow, demon. Oh, merciful Father, please forgive me.
A pistol on the
I
last.
will not touch it.
Phyllis, are you all right?
Oh, thank God my prayers have been answered.
I will not hurt you. I promise.
Phyllis, answer me. Are you all right?
I promise. If you help, I will soon be on my way. Okay?
I'm all right, Mr. Wheatley. Just frightened by an apparition, that's all.
Well, pray child, and it will disappear.
I pray, Mr. Wheatley, and I pray that your cough will disappear as well.
Well, thank you, my child. Thank you. Look to the future, dear daughter. Tomorrow, your freedom awaits.
Yes, I pray to be freed of this specter tonight.
Well, pray child, and I will pray for your deliverance. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Wheatley.
Thank you. Most generously. Now, if you would be so kind as to tell me where I am. No, I have the last shot. Natalia, my love, how could you? To that damnable bastard, the Indies? Nicholas, would you have me a child? Would you flirt with my wife in front of my face? Bring down to the canes. Hoisting your seats an assassin. Or shame. Spies! Natalia, why do you fight so? Spies. I'm tormented by spies. Arena. My sweet nursemaid Arena. No one has ever loved me as much as you did. No. I have the last shot. The end is you detestable cur. Defend your honor, you bastard! I will kill him. My pistol. Where is my pistol? Each passing moment rakes away a grain of life. And while we, you and I, would rather have lived on, all at once we die. Here, happiness is not, but peace and freedom are. You are holding the only chance of redemption I have.
No, maybe if I shoot, I'll send you back to where you came.
Or, if I am a specter as you say, and you shoot, maybe I'll be with you for the rest of your life. Now, back to my original question. Where am I?
I am feeling better now that I am sitting. I promise I will not hurt you. I'm indebted to you. You wiped my brow and loosened my vest. Probably even saved my life. For a while. Come, sit.
My seat.
My apologies, dear lady. I'm in your seat. Now, sit. I promise I will not bite hard. Thank you. And your name is?
Phyllis. Phyllis Wheatley.
Miss Phyllis. So nice to meet you. My dear Phyllis, there was a time I would have challenged you to a duel for refusing my hand. That is, of course, if you were a man. Well, I'm Spectre Spirit. No, come down, sit. Come down, sit. I'm just making fun, dear lady. I'm Pushkin. Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin. At your service. You've no doubt heard of me.
No. Why are you here?
And that, my dear lady, leads us back to my original question. Where on God's green earth is here? Or am I dreaming? Are you by any chance Hannibal's mother? My great-great-grandmother from Abyssinia?
Your great. I am nothing of the kind. How absurd. My name is Phyllis Wheatley. A free woman come tomorrow, if you must know. And you, sir, are in Boston, a city that prides itself of its freedom, especially against the British, with whom we are at war with.
There's something about age that always strikes a dissonant chord with women, regardless of race, culture, or religion. No, my dear lady, I was just...
I heard what you was just saying. Absurdities. Do I appear to be old enough to be your great anything? If anything, you are old enough to be my senior. Now, Mr. Pushkin, or whomever you are, you have outstayed your welcome here at the Wheatley's abode, and I would kindly appreciate if you left at once.
And that precisely is my next point. I do not know where here is, or how I got here. So I definitely do not know how to get back. That is what I had hoped to learn from you. And please, keep these windows closed. It's colder than a witch's room.
Well, can't you just cast one of your spells to take you back to where you came?
I did not cast a spell to get here. I simply appeared. Last thing I remember was my duel with the Andes.
The Yankees?
Yes. Bastard son or lover of Baron Hector.
Sir, please, your language.
1,000 apologies, mademoiselle. He flirted once too often with my wife. Even married her sister just to get close to her.
Did she flirt back?
Apparently. With lover's restraint. She did, in fact, cease and confess her fault. He, on the other hand, tried harder.
So you fought.
On the banks of the Black River, when he fired a shot, striking me below the heart, a wound that seems to have fully recovered. I had yet taken my shot when the wind and snow started to whirl around. Voila! I ended up here in Boston. But I know of no Boston in Russia.
That's because there is no Boston in Russia. Demon, you are in America.
If the lady will be so kind as to stop referring to me as demon, I have a name. It is Pushkin. Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin. Not demon, madam. So I must be dreaming. I've never been to America in my life, though I did in fact consider coming here because of my ill treatment from my own countrymen. But I've never...
Well, then we both must be dreaming.
Is that the way you treat your hostess in America?
Mr. John Wheatley said if you want to know if you're dreaming, you pinch yourself.
Yourself. Not me. I, on the other hand, would rather just take a drink and go back to bed. By the way, do you have...
No! Drinking is a sin.
Precisely. Now, where do you keep it?
Mr. Pushkin, this is a Christian home with no such vices as drinking and cursing, which you have brought in with access, I might add.
Miss Wheatley, I too am a Christian. However, like most Russians, I just tend to not let it interfere with my life.
That, sir, is not a true Christian.
Is that what your father told you?
My father?
John Wheatley.
He is not my father, not my birth father.
Your uncle?
He is not my uncle.
But you two have the same last surnames.
I know.
Well?
Mr. Pushkin, you ask far too many questions. He is my employer.
I see. And what does he employ you to do? Write poetry?
Don't be absurd. I clean and I keep order in the house. I write poetry on my own time.
Then you must be married to his brother. That's it.
Heavens no.
But how can you two have the same last surname?
Regardless, it is my name.
Wife?
No.
Bed warmer?
Demon!
No need to change names just for that.
If you must know, I am his servant. There. Now you know.
I too have servants in Russia, but they have their own surnames. I thought everyone in America kept their own last names, except for... You're a slave girl? Does he meet you often? I imagine he does with an attitude like yours. Will you bear his children too? I heard that in America...
I will not bear his children.
But I heard that in America they chop off your feet if you run away.
Well, I don't care what you heard. See? 2 good feet. I know no one who has ever had their feet chopped off before.
But does it happen?
It may, but not in Boston. For we have the Bible as our safeguard for the free as well as the slaves. And where do you think you're going, Mr.
I would like to speak to Mr. Wheatley about the state of serpents in America as compared to Russia.
You will do no such thing.
But we both have serfs. I must speak to him.
It is too early in the morning. Maybe if you are still here in the afternoon, and I pray that you are not, you can speak to him then.
Christians don't lie, Miss Wheatley. You do not want for me to speak to him at all, do you? Why not?
Because you are different from the other masters here in Boston. You will look out of place.
Because I'm Russian? Pray tell. How so? Because I'm Russia's greatest poet?
Because you are swarthy. That's the word, you're swarthy.
Swarthy? But I have servants who are both European and Asian in my beloved Russia.
Yes, precisely. In Russia. how you will get back to your beloved Russia. Think now. Why are you here?
Maybe I cannot return until I have accomplished a mission of some sort. Are you married, Miss Wheatley? Betrothed?
I am engaged, if you must know.
No, dear lady, you are engaging. I am engaged by your beauty.
To a free man.
God made us all free, madame, but it's up to us to accept it or not. You have nice ankles.
I was proving a point, Mr. Pushkin.
And a point well taken, Miss Wheatley. I'm beginning to believe my mission of coming here is you. Yes, I think it is you.
You best to have salvation as your mission, for it is mine.
Well, maybe you can save us both.
I am no match for the devil. Look upon salvation for your mission.
Well, to who am I speaking to?
Mere sinful mortal.
Sinful mortal? Ah. Well, so much the better.
Goodness!
Cats!
What?
January 27th,
Yes?
1778?
Yes!
But it can't be. My door was fought on January 27, 1837. 59 years into the future. But this paper says you have yet to obtain your freedom.
Yes, it is to be assured.
More than assured, dear lady. It is a fact. You have won your independence.
No, the war still rages. Washington is planning another attack at Valley Forge. General Gates, he's the head of the Northern Army, and Benedict Arnold, he has held off a British attack at Fort Ticonderoga.
Benedict Arnold? The man was a traitor to your cause.
How can you say that?
Because his deeds have been well documented. The war is over. France came to your aid. England was defeated. You are a free country. George Washington was your first president.
Was?
My goodness. This was before I was ever born. The time is out of joint. No cursed spot that ever I was born to set it right.
Why are you quoting Hamlet, Monsieur Demon?
Time is out of joint.
First president?
Yes.
Oh, come now, Mr. Spector. Have you taken the ale in this blistering gale? Oh, I like that line.
No, I am not drunk. It is true. You are free. At least your country is.
No, my curly-headed Cossack. You're ill.
But I swear it's true.
No! You have sworn enough in this house already. Besides, Pearson Wayne says that swearers are liars.
I tell you, I'm not lying.
Oh! Okay. So, according to you, the year is 1837?
Yes. January 27th.
And our war for independence is over? No more death or destruction?
No more. It is done. You are no longer a bunch of ill-equipped colonies. You are now the 13th United States in America. You have defeated the greatest nation on earth. Well, second greatest nation.
And General Washington is our president?
Was your president. He was your first.
Who appointed him?
The people. But he wasn't appointed. He was elected.
Elected how?
They voted from what I understand. But it is your history. You should know it.
And how am I supposed to charlatan, and neither are you.
I am not a charlatan.
Then prove it. Tell me who will be our second president after General Washington, who has been so delighted in my verse. Proceed, great chief, with virtue on thy side. Thy every action lay goddess guide, a crown, a mansion, a throne that shines, with gold unfailing, Washington be thine.
Will, it has already happened. What child, or rather, old lady, since you are 50 years my senior.
I beg your pardon.
I am not the scholar on the Americas, but I believe it was Mr. Adams.
John or Samuel?
Samuel. No, it was John, followed by the brilliant Mr. Jefferson.
Are you sure it's not Samuel who will be our second president? He had the will, the character, the love of the common people. Samuel Adams was the glue that binds our heart to the revolution. Are you sure it is not he who will be our second president?
Precisely. John Adams was, or will be, your second president. But what does it matter to you? A slave girl. Your lot did not change one way or the other after the outcome of the revolution.
Well, come tomorrow, I will no longer be a slave girl, as you have mentioned. All will have been changed.
How so?
How so? I will be free, that is how so.
And what will you do on your first day of freedom?
I will write poetry all day long.
And the second?
The same.
And how will you eat?
I will sell my poetry.
My apologies. Proceed.
What is so funny, Mr. Pushkin? My poetry is loved throughout New England. We whose names are underwritten do assure the world that the poems in the following pages was written by Phyllis, a young Negro girl, who as but a few years was bought, and so on and so on.
An uncultivated barbarian.
Yes, no, but read on. And has ever since and is now under the disadvantage of serving as a
Slave girl.
Yes, but come tomorrow, I will no longer be a slave girl. Now read on. She has been examined by some of the best judges and has been thought qualified to write them. There. See, they love my work. And the names are listed below. Their names include His Excellency Thomas Hutchison, the governor, John Wheatley, and Mr. John Hancock, Esquire.
Dear Phyllis, they attest to your work. They think it is a miracle that a slave girl such as yourself could learn the English language and write such beautiful words. You are an oddity.
I am well versed in Greek and in Latin. At the age of 18, I have traveled to London, where the Countess of Huntington has helped me get a collection of my poems published.
Bravo, Phyllis. Bravo! But that does not mean the whole of Boston will flock to buy your work.
Why, in God's name, do you insist on discouraging me? Why? Are you my torturer? Is that your mission? Is that why you're here?
I cannot answer you, Phyllis. Time is truly out of joint.
I was kidnapped and sold into slavery at the age of 7, a ward of the world without a mother's touch. I have never, ever attended school, not for one day, ever. But by God's graces and the tutelage of the Wheatleys, I applied myself to master the English language, Latin, Greek, and the classics. At the age of 16, I was applauded for my poetry at the death of Reverend Whitfield. At 16, when girls would do good just to read or write, I was held all over America for writing poetry. My poetry is read throughout New England. You have no right to demean me. Call me a slave girl, a bed warmer? What are you? No. are you? But a cuckolded octoroon gilding shot in a duel over a harlot wife. And you ask me how I will make my living? You ask me? My husband will take care of me, a free man. And we will celebrate our freedom from England. My lot will change. I will not be discouraged by you or any other demon. I will not. I see your purpose, Mr. Pushkin. To cast doubt in my heart, weaken my resolve, and discourage me? Why art thou disquieted within me? Cast down, O my soul. Hope thou in God, for I shall still praise him, who is the health in my countenance and my God.
Dear Phyllis, at age 16, you were a published poet, well known in your verse. My fame preceded yours by 2 years. I was 14. You were quick to learn English, Latin, and Greek. I mastered French, Russian, as well as English. But in addition to the French language, I was absorbed by French culture, French lifestyle, not unlike today of all of Russian nobility. Your library reveals your love for Milton, Pope, and Gray. Mine is Voltaire, Rousseau, and Shakespeare.
And what does Monsieur Voltaire say of my work? Read it.
He says, it is very good English verse.
Ah! You read Voltaire, Voltaire reads me.
What I'm trying to say to you, Phyllis, is that fame does not guarantee fortunes. It only guarantees fame whose first name is fleeting. I just want to help you.
If you want to help me, go back to where you came.
As for a mother's touch, it is something to be missed, if not given with a beating and severe scolding as much as mine did. I never felt my mother loved me, so I never loved her. Now, my nursemaid, Arena, she was my true love. She taught me the Russian folk tales that so inspired me to write poetry. And as for my father, a spineless vassal to my mother, tied to that dark-skinned beauty's apron strings. He neither ruled his estate nor his home. What good is a father or mother which are neither? And as for our common kinship, those shades apart, it's no secret. Nubia races through our veins. Yours more recently than mine, but present nevertheless. My great-grandfather, Hannibal, in Ethiopia was taken at 5. You at 7. A gift to Peter the Great. Brought up as the Tsar's own son. Educated in Paris. An indistinguishable part of nobility in his day. From the paintings I've seen, the resemblance is so striking, you could be his own sister. So you see, my dear, we have much more in common than it first appears. Will the hour of my freedom come? 'Tis time, 'tis time! To wit I call, I roam above the sea. I wait for the right weather. I beacon to the sail of ships under the cope of storms, with waves disputing on the free crossways of the sea. When shall I start my free course? Poetry is what's most common between us. A poet's life is neither easy or lucrative, and that's why I counsel you. And are you willing to risk all for your work, your life, the lives of your family and friends?
Yes.
You say yes. But I have friends who were exiled to Siberia because of my poetry, and others who have died, killed in the Decembrist uprising. At the first hanging, the gallows broke and they all fell free. With dispatch, they were hanged again on repaired timbers. Why? Ye favorite of fickle destiny, ye tyrants of the world, tremble. But hearken, be ye not so humble. Ye slaves, rise up for liberty. Because they listened to, no, quoted my poetry and dared to act upon it. They were hanged. The only thing that saved me from the gallows was my absence from Petersburg at the time. All for poetry. When I was brought before the Tsar Nicholas, I was scolded as a child and was made aware that my work would be censored, and if I protested, I would suffer the same fate of my friends. And then he asked one last question upon my leaving. If you, dear Pushkin, had been in St. Petersburg, would you have taken part in the uprising on December 14th? Beyond any doubt, Your Majesty, all of my friends were in the conspiracy. It would have been impossible for me to let them down. My absence alone is what saved me, for which I thank God. So you say, you are willing to die because maybe what you write is popular. What happens when your words fall out of favor to the powers that be? Will you still write? Will you? The muse is a mistress that gives so little at times, but always demands so much. Neither has she any regard for your descent into poverty. She still demands to be fed, regardless of family or foe. A poet's not. Poetry is the profession of lovers and paupers. Which are you?
No, but listen to what General Washington had to say. He said, I thank you for your polite notice of me and your elegant lines that you have enclosed.
Phyllis.
No, listen. The manner and talent exhibit such a striking proof of your poetical talent. If you are ever in Cambridge or near headquarters, I will be so thrilled to meet a person so favored by the muses and to whom nature has been so liberal and beneficial in her dispensations. I am with great honor, General George Washington of the Continental Army. Now, do you understand?
Understand?
Yes.
You would do well to have a husband provide for you, for which your lover cannot.
Goodness gracious! I am betrothed!
I was only referring to your lover well known as poetry, mon ami. Flirting is the rage in Paris, mademoiselle.
Despicable is what you are.
And you are a sun-kissed lover. Nubia's beautiful beauty in a bun.
And you, sir, you're short.
curls and curls again. Height is only relevant vertically, dear lady. Horizontally, I'm quite the giant. Come, let me show you. Such fire you should say for your poetry. Or rather, your betrothed. Maybe that's the problem. You have been saving for far too long.
And you not long enough!
I pray that your fire is to my reference only.
Contemptible cur!
That I am. Or rather was. I even kept score. 112 women succumbed to my pleasures.
Yes! Have you heard of keep thy vessel in holiness?
Vessels were meant to set sail. Discover uncharted territory. Travel from port to port. Embark on the high sea.
Yes, and pick up unwanted passengers that only strong medicine can disembark.
113 women, including my wife. Young, old, rich, poor, married, single, betrothed. From the Count Borostavo's lovely wife to Calypso Palacroni, the poor but beautiful daughter of the fortune teller. So a cur? Yes, and a satisfied one. You should be so well loved.
One thing is for certain, midget. Despite your sinful experiences, I am the better poet.
Pardon, mademoiselle?
I see why you ridicule me. Yes, I see through your false assistance and your counsel. You're jealous of me. Yes, you read my work. You know I am the better poet.
Jealous? Me? Russia's greatest living poet. My poetry started a revolution.
No, Dwarf, your poetry is revolting.
You are a man.
I be twice your height.
I challenge you to a duel.
I would accept. I do accept. Let's see who has the best poetry.
My dear alliterati, the correct grammar is better. But why should I be surprised that a slave girl wouldn't know that?
Pardon, my tiny friend. And you can take that any way you like. I was not finished. What I was going to say was, let's see who has the best poetry among us. You, me, oh, those on my shelf with whom I am not afraid to compare myself to.
Ha! Self and shelf. You may have just completed your best rhyme.
Yes, is that better than tall men in curls again? Are you up for the challenge?
Yes, but just the two of us. Whom shall be the judge?
Truth and talent.
Then you have already lost.
Never.
Read on.
Dwarfs and demons first.
Oh! Has your betrothed and his mother arrived? Let's establish a rule or two, shall we? My love. You must read your poem down center stage.
An obvious courtesy.
Afforded to you as well as to me. After each poem, the listener is then given the opportunity to respond to what he or she
Or it.
has heard. Yes, one other trick. You must state the name of your poem at the outset. You may begin. Yes.
My chair.
So it is. And quite comfortable.
Yes, but it is my chair.
Do you want to use it?
No, I just want you out of it.
I did not know my sitting here offended you.
Your sitting does not offend me. Your sitting in my chair does.
I think attitude and disposition of readers should also be factored into this.
Mr. Pushkin, one more word and there will be no contest. Or you will be thrown out of my room by door, window, or chimney. It is up to you.
My sincerest apologies. Read on, gracious hostess. My dearest apologies. Proceed.
This poem is called Virtue.
A lovely name. Original, too.
O thou bright jewel, in my aim, I strive to comprehend thee. Thy own words declare higher. Wisdom is higher than a fool can reach. I cease to wonder and no more attempt thy height explore or phantom die profound. O my soul, seek not unto despair, or lead me not to the false joys of time, but guide my steps to endless life and bliss. Greatness, goodness, say what I shall call thee, to give me a higher appellation still. Teach me a nobler strain, a nobler lay, O thou in terms in the realms of day. Mr. Pushkin!
Yeah.
I'm finished.
And the name of your poem is called Victim, is it not?
It's virtue.
Is it time for
I
comments?
thought you already made a victim indeed.
An honest mistake. How could I ever confuse victim with virtue? Unless, of course, one is a victim of virtue. But that's another story.
Comments, please.
A great poem. A lovely work of art. You are indeed a mistress of meter and rhyme. Despair, declare, lay, day. The complexity of it all just astounds me. And wisdom is higher than a fool can reach. Now that line, you obviously know something about. The way you tried to grasp it, yet couldn't tame it. You were clearly speaking from experience on that one. I'm beginning to believe I'm losing at this contest, yes. You were speaking universal by trying to obtain the specific. But what does it all mean? Couldn't it have been stated more sparsely, more direct, to the point? Why beat around the proverbial bush? Tell us what virtue is in its purest state. After all, it is called virtue. Great poem. I believe I'm next. I shall call this poem Liberty. Perfect for a little slave matron. That's German for girl.
Ich weiß.
Pardon?
I know.
I shall state the portion.
Oh, why not? A portion fits your statue.
I shall sing of liberty and and scourge evil that sits on the thrones. The crown monster sinks. And now, know this, O kings, neither reward, nor punishment, nor altars, nor prison bars can protect you anymore. To the certain force of the laws, only peace and liberty shall defend your throne.
Oh, bravo! Encore!
I was not finished.
Oh, I'm sorry. It just seemed like such a fitting place to end.
And if I have not the dread of prophecy, shall I see, O my friends, the people freed, the serfdom abolished by the hand of the Tsar.
Finished. Oh, bravo, Monsieur Pushkin. Bravo! Such a work of a genius, such strong verse!
If I had not the gift of prophecy,
Yes.
you have quite the gift of prophecy.
Yes, just not poetry. At least not apparent in this work, which I hesitate to call poetry. It's more like a didactic prose, more suited for a drum and fife. And in your own poetic words, this crown monster will sink, and I might add, stink to high heavens. I believe I'm next.
Well, I have one more poem.
Please, Mr. Pushkin, wait your turn. Poor poetry has no privilege here, except in the fireplace.
Am I not your house guest?
Not by choice, but yes.
Then pay me the honor of allowing me one more poem.
Okay. Proceed, my Siberian Shakespeare.
This one will be much better. Let's see. What shall I do? Oh, yes. Natalia.
And what's his name?
It has no name. It is to my wife, Natalia.
But you of all people said that all poetry need a name before it is announced.
Call it Natalia.
It makes no difference what I call a sweet poet, but what do you call it?
Natalia, damn it!
Mr. Pushkin! That language will not be used in my house unless that is her middle name, which I can understand why you are so vexed. A spouse with such a name is bound to be a vexation. Natalia!
Natalia! Summer's blush grows pale, pale, as the days of brightness soar away. Misty haze spreads on the vale, as the sleeping night turns gray. Wicked fields have all grown barren, lively streams now turn sterile. Curly woods turn gray and stark, and the heavens have all grown dark. Where are you, my light? Natalia? No one's seen you. I limit. Do you not want to share a passion or a moment with a friend? Neither by the pond so stagnant, nor under the linden's fragment. Through the seasons early, late, we have not yet had a date. Shortly.
So true, so true.
Winter's blight will attend the field so bitter. In a smoggy shack, a light before long will shine and glitter. I will not see, my dear, our ray like a finch inside a cage. I'll sit depressed and dazed as I recall Natalia's gaze. A lady, a true lady, inspires such verse.
And vexation.
Pardon?
Oh, nothing, great poet, nothing. Yes, I'm sure that she is to die for. It's just that I prefer the living as most poets do. I noticed that one writes more couplets that way.
My Natalia is a poem.
Yes, I'm sure she is. Most men will call her free verse.
Free verse? You, my dear lady, are asking to be treated as a man.
And you, kind sir, are asking to be treated as
Mark your words carefully, Miss Whately. I warn you. A man can only take so much.
And you obviously cannot take me. Now take your paws off me, Mr. Pushkin.
Our duel is not yet over, pretty poetess. Proceed. You have one bullet left, but I have the last shot.
Dead men need no bullets, Mr. Pushkin.
Nor a fool for freedom, Miss Wheatley. And what of your betrothed?
What of him?
Read one of your poems about him.
He's a respectable man.
Well, read a respectable poem. Respectable men also merit poetry. Come now, poetess. You've heard one of my verses about my lovely Natalia. I'd like to hear one of yours about
Peters. John Peters.
John.
Here's one. This one is called Recollection. It's too long.
So what does he do? Your sweetheart, aside from cherishing his freedom.
He owns his own store.
Is he good at it?
Is he good? What kind of question is that? He is a businessman.
All businessmen are not good at business. Like all poets are not good at poetry. Does he run a good business? Does he make a lot of rules? Dollars, I should say.
He makes enough.
Enough for what? To moderately feed, clothe, and shelter his family? Or is it just enough to keep the wolves from your doors for the time being?
The Lord will provide.
Yes, in the long run. But what will you do when Satan tries to take what the Lord has provided? If his business isn't productive, then...
It will be productive.
So it isn't productive.
That is none of your business. My husband-to-be is handsome, with manners, something you know little about. And he is well liked.
What does looks, manners, and likes have to do with running a business? Unless, of course, all of his patrons are women. Just a thought. Maybe he's in the wrong business. Instead of food and dry goods, he should be selling other merchandise. If he's as handsome as you say, I'm sure there's quite a market for his merchandise. What's wrong? Phyllis! What to do? Phyllis!
There will be a 10-minute intermission.
More?
No, I'm better.
Better than what? You're in need of a doctor.
My concoction is my doctor. And thank you.
So, what am I?
A concoction of a different kind.
Touche. Or maybe I'm just plain old Cock Robin.
Poor Cock Robin. I have another one, Mrs. Cushing.
Another. Oh, yes, that concoction. Bon appetit.
Spasiba.
You're quite welcome. A woman of many languages, gifts, and talents. What is in this witch's brew anyway?
Peppermint, red pepper, garlic, comforty, onion, angelica.
A witch's brew indeed. Strong enough to keep the devil away himself.
For most demons, obviously not all.
So how long have you had this malady?
Ever since I can remember, when I first got to these shores and experienced such a drastic change in climate.
Do you remember Africa?
Only my mother pouring out libations towards the sun before it's rising.
That's all.
That's all. It's all very faint.
And what of your arrival upon this continent?
Oh, I remember that quite well. I arrived here on the good ship of Phyllis, from whence I received my name, naked as a goose, wrapped up in an old dirty carpet, standing on the auction block. I was even sick then and very frail.
Being so sickly, why did he choose you?
Mrs. Wheatley actually chose me. She wanted a domestic in her old age, and all the other children, they were stronger than I. But in me, she said she saw humility and modesty.
Yes, it is still true today. And your schooling?
Never attended school, not for one day. I would write words on the wall in charcoal, and the Wheatley children, Nathaniel and Mary, upon seeing my desire to learn, they would teach me things that they were privy to, like the English language, Latin, Greek, the great poets of England.
Amazing.
Yes, I never devoted my time to menial labor, nor was I allowed to associate with other domestics in the house. Although we were the same color, I was constantly around my mistress. They gave me my own room, as you can see. I ate dinner with the family. I was treated more like a daughter than anything.
But do you ever long for your native land? Your people? Remember, Christians don't lie in this week.
Small wonder you are such a cad, Mr. Pushkin. You're adept at reading a woman's soul.
It is my second profession.
And what's your first?
Poetry, of course, dear lady.
Yes.
So do you still long for your distant shores?
On certain summer nights, I walk barefoot through the garden. I can hear the voices of children playing. They're laughing and giggling, boys and girls. I stop and listen, and then I realize there is a voice missing. I keep on listening until I realize that voice that is missing, that's my voice. My voice is missing from the children that's laughing in the garden.
And that makes you sad?
For a while. Until I start to laugh with them. Thousands of miles away, many years apart, we start to laugh and play in the garden. And I'm happy.
And your mother, brother and sisters?
Who is my mother, brother, and sisters but those that do the will of God? I have faith that we will be united once more. And you? Do you miss them?
Russia? I've never been away.
No, I'm talking about your darker continent.
Well, My great-grandfather, Hannibal, just as you, was taken from Abyssinia. But I have no recollection or personal knowledge of the earth from which his feet trod.
But do you miss it? Do you long for it? The truth, Mr. Pusher.
Mademoiselle, I cannot long for something I've never had. Though it is a part of me, the best thing I can do is long for knowledge of it. And yes, I do quite often yearn for personal knowledge of what was the home of my fathers. Yet I have been attacked in gazettes for my African heritage. One such person reported that my mother was a mulatto, whose father, a poor pickaninny, had been bought by a drunken sailor for a bottle of rum. And although Peter the Great little resembled that drunken sailor, I was the person referred to clearly enough. No Russian man of letters, besides me, may number a Negro among his ancestors.
So what did you do?
The cowards refused to face me in a duel, and on the advice of a friend, I dropped the matter, knowing that it would be difficult to defend oneself with pen in hand against cowardly critics who objected to my writings because of its nature and compassion for the downtrodden. So, I do quite often yearn for knowledge of her fruits, her forest, maybe we can go back there together and run naked upon her shores and absorb its dark splendor and radiant beauty. How do you feel?
Much better. And of all your writings, which one is your favorite to date?
That's like asking a father who's his favorite child. I don't know. They're all so dear, each for a different reason.
Okay, then which one is your favorite to date in your present stage of life?
Now that's the rub. Since you put it like that, I would have to say my short story, Eugene Onegin. Masterfully written, if I must say so myself.
How so?
In the end, a man fights in a duel over his wife.
Oh, what happens?
That is something you'll have to read for yourself.
Another story, another time. I started writing poetry at the age of 13, and soon after I was published, and I was the talk of the town. I was known in New England and eventually England.
England?
Yes, Her Majesty's England.
So what do you attribute this fame and success?
Simple.
Are you able?
Quite. Hand me that book over there, please, Mr. Pushkin. Everything I am and hope to be is a result of the Wheatleys introducing me to the Word. It was their salvation. It was theirs, and now it is mine.
No doubt. But how did you get to England?
By ship.
So there's humor even in illness.
Yes, and in spite of it. A doctor recommended that I take a sea voyage to improve my health. So I did, for my health and for my poetry. There, I met the Countess of Huntington, who helped me get a collection of my poems published.
Its name?
Poems of various subjects, religious and morals. I was even presented to King George.
Remarkable.
Yes.
Would that I was ever presented with such a gift.
I was the toast of English society, thousands of miles away. I held an audience with the Lord Mayor of London. Like I said, a collection of my work was published when I was there. Then I received word that Mrs. Wheatley's health was failing, so we had to return back to Boston as quickly as we could. She died soon after. Mary's dead too, and Nathaniel, he's back in London. Mr. Wheatley is the only family I have here, and I fear that he is not long for the world. These are not the best times financially for any of us here.
So, what will you do upon his death?
I told you, I will marry John Peters, who will take care of me, and I will write poetry and I will sell it.
Oh, Phyllis, I fear people may want to buy your poetry but cannot afford it. Your country is at war. All wars are costly. The economy is bad. Your money, no doubt, isn't worth the paper it is printed on. In these dire times, porridge is more sustaining than poetry.
He will take care of me, I know it. He wears a wig and he carries a cane.
So did I in my youth. He sounds like a dandy.
He is. He is so proud, and he will not take just any kind of work. That is why he has his own store. Did I tell you that he is a grocer?
But do you love him?
What kind of question is that, horse? Have you been to England, Mr. Pushkin? You'll love it there.
More than Africa?
As much so, but in a different sort of way.
I would imagine.
Yes. It all has to do with imagination, doesn't it? One moment.
What do you have behind there?
Why me, silly?
What else?
No peeking. No peeking.
So you credit this book for your transformation.
It and it alone. It is my compass, my guide to take me to my final destination.
So that's what you protesters believe in?
Protestants! And yes, we do. We who believe it, read it with zeal for the Almighty. Through it we will find our salvation.
But if one can read for himself, then there is no need for a shepherd or a priest to tell him what it means. Isn't there a need for an emissary?
We have an emissary, the Son. There is no need for a priest to orchestrate our salvation. It is up to each individual.
But no man or woman can lead such a godly life. We're mere mortals.
It is the striving that is important. It is the striving for perfection that is important. We must strive for it. Through the striving, that is what makes us conquerors.
But it is so much work, so much drudgery, such little fun. Where's the fun in life?
Where there is peace, there is fun. There is contentment. There is satisfaction. There is love.
Now that's where you're wrong. Love is anything but peaceful, tormenting, exasperating, exhilarating, torturous, catastrophic even. And I don't think I would like it if it were.
That, sir, is not love. That is lust. For the scripture clearly states what love is.
But what of those who cannot read?
Those that can hear it are just as converted as those that they can read. And you? Where did you find your salvation?
In the arms of a woman.
Oh, I thought it was your poetry.
A lady's arms are a prelude to poetry, mon ami.
And in the end, it's not enough.
In the end, it won't matter.
I pray for you, Mr. Pushkin. I pray that you find salvation and peace.
I have in my poetry.
But that is not the peace and the truth. That is what I seek.
And what about your poetry?
Imagination gave me my poetry. That is a gift from above. That is why some of my work contains some use of religion in it.
A poem on various subjects, religious and morals.
Yes, but I am working on new pieces that uses religion to forward some social ideas.
Bravo, Phyllis. Start with American serfdom. If freedom is good enough for the masses, it is good enough for your people.
Our people.
Our people. Princess. No. Queen. Cleopatra. Queen of Sheba.
Why, thank you, such a gentleman.
I am as weak as Solomon was before you. May I have this dance? Exquisite.
Charming.
All of England must have been abuzz. The Queen of the South had landed.
Oh, it was wonderful. I was fed everywhere I went. I was asked to read my poems in homes, schools, cathedrals. They loved me.
So do I, my queen. So do I.
Mr. Pushkin, I am betrothed.
But do you love him?
Why do you ask that? You are not a suitor. You are already married to a woman you have fought a duel over, and in likelihood will return to, I pray, under better circumstances that brought you here. No, Mr. Pushkin. We poets, we weave dreams. But the tiny threads that pull them apart are our reality. But what beautiful dreams they are.
Look around, dear lady. We're no longer in England. We are at one of the greatest balls in the Tsar's court. Don't you see? You are the envy of every lady here, and I of every man. Over there is Alexander Wickendorf.
Who?
An evil rodent who will stop at nothing to have me destroyed. He and his secret police of the third section watch my every move and report it to the Tsar. But tonight, Monsieur Rance-Ars, you are free to follow my every move and that of my beautiful queen.
Oh, shame on you, Mr. Pushkin.
1,000 pardons, mon ami. But it is no secret. I am dancing with the most beautiful lady, not of Russia, but of the world. Spin, my lady. Spin! Tonight the world revolves around you.
Anything else, my love?
Over there is Tiev. Tiev! Later we shall talk. He's happy for me. He escaped death from the December's uprising.
A friend of yours.
Boyhood friend. He is my most trusted friend and advisor.
Is he a ladies' man?
Contraire, mademoiselle. He's shy. His only affair is with me.
Oh, hi! He is tall. Hi. Oh, tall.
That he is.
Yes.
But
Imagination. Oh.
if only this would last forever.
Are you enjoying my yourself and sweets?
Precisely.
Oh.
There he is.
Who? Where?
There, near the front. It's Nicholas. He's staring at you. No, don't look! Ignore him. It makes him want you even more.
Me?
Yes, you, my lovely. He desires you more than life.
But he cannot have me.
Never. Because you are mine.
Yes.
May jealousy eat your heart out, you maniacal monarch.
You demonic despots.
She will never be yours.
Never.
She is mine.
Why are we slowing down?
I want them to stroke up your elegance, my love. Take a stroll around the room. They all want to gaze upon your loveliness.
Shall I offer them my hand?
Only after I have feasted. A meal meant for the gods.
And will you come with me?
This is your night, Phyllis. Your night. Go on, my dear. Your admirers await. Besides, I am just a government official.
Au contraire, no you're not. You're Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin, Russia's greatest poet.
Indeed. Now, be gone. Don't keep the court waiting.
Mr. Pushkin! It's the Tsar! He asked if he can dance with me. What shall I say?
Never. In 1,000 years, never.
Please, honey, don't make a scene.
I will not have it. He cannot have you. Not every woman is his for the taking.
But it's just one dance so I can say that I danced with the Tsar.
To that autocratic despot with the military barracks mind? Never. You are mine, Phyllis, and only mine.
And always will be, my love. That you can be assured of. What I have for you is greater than a mother's love, which you sorely miss.
One dance, and then to the carriage.
And then to bliss.
Turn a deaf ear to his whisperings, my dear.
I will, my love.
And don't let them squeeze you, Cherry. You are not the piece of fruit. At least, not his.
I won't, my love.
Is he a good dancer, mon ami?
No, my sweet. He's your inferior for sure. He moves as if he has two left feet.
Sweet feet. Always the poet, even while promenading.
Is that surprising? You are my mentor. Are you okay?
And Linsky, left eye closing, aimed. But just then, Eugene's pistol flamed, and the poet, without a sound, let fall his pistol on the ground.
Whose words are these?
My own. Mr. Wheatley is not the only one whose tenure is quickly closing. I fear I may have predicted my own demise.
No, please don't go. What about purposes?
I fear I may not have accomplished what I was sent here for. But you, dear angel, have quite succeeded. I wrote it while you slept.
Upon my mouth, angels flung forth by my roof of my sinful tongue. This is a poem of conversion. Upon the waste, a cloudless clod, I lie and heard the voice of God.
But not of salvation.
This is repentance. You are saved for sure.
No. Only in words, like so many others.
Then bind words and deed together and be saved.
I fear it may be too late.
Where there is life, there is hope.
And yet, while I have life, my hope is to Dianthes. Kill Dianthes.
I hope that your soul finds peace.
Peace. Peace for one who reaps what he has sown. And I have sown much evil.
And much good. Even the thief on the cross was pardoned. Please beg for forgiveness.
For the sin I am about to commit,
What sin?
I still have the last shot for Dianthes.
Is revenge and murder more important than your eternal life?
Nay, but honor is. No honor in life, then none in death. My last act, saint or sinner, so be it. Greater than a mother's love still?
Yes, with a mother's prayer.
Then pray
that my aim is sure.
I will, sweet prince. I will.
I do. I am chill. So chill.
I pray for your salvation, Mr. Pushkin, and I pray that your shot is sure to miss. We Armenians can surpass the wind and leave the rolling universe behind. But imagination? Who can sing thy course or describe the swiftness of thy course? Mr. Pushkin, sweet prince? Now here, now there, the roving fancy flies, till some loved object strikes her wondering eyes, whose silken flutters all senses find, and soft captivity involves the mind. Imagination.
Gary had to leave Mr. Wheaton because he has another show he's doing this weekend, so he had to leave. Just want to introduce yourselves, and then we'll move on to the questions and discussion.
I'm Hiawatha Jackson. I'm playing Miss Phyllis Wheaton.
Hiawatha was a student here, no longer a student.
I'm a graduate, so.
She is still a student. She will graduate. Okay. Okay, okay, go ahead.
My name is Brandon Lewis. I play Alexander Pushkin.
All right.
This is my final semester here at Southwest. I'll be graduating in May.
All right. Christian?
I'm Clarence Christie, and I'm president of the Memphis branch of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History.
Also, Professor Emeritus here?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Remember he is here. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
I'm Brother Ron Hurd, also known as R2C2H2 the Artivist. I'm the founder and chief executive artivist of the We All Be Group Incorporated.
So, I just wanted to say, how many people do you know or do you think in college know Alexander Pushkin's African American and that he had black ancestry?
Probably not a lot. Probably those who were able to take courses in African American literature probably know who know them. And even some of those who knew about them have to know.
What about Phyllis Wheatley?
I would think that most, well, I'll take that back. Because, you know, it's when you talk about our knowledge of ourselves, just be careful what level you're talking about. There are many people who know the name Phyllis Wheatley. They know that she was poor, but I don't know how many people have read her works. Because to be known means more than known.
Exactly. So what do we take away from the knowledge of Phyllis Wheatley and Alexander Cushman? I mean, not only African American students, but African American people in general. So what happens when you know these things that you didn't know before? Yes.
I believe that, with Black History Month, whatever you want to call it, I believe that knowledge of self is the foundation of all educational pursuits in life. You build a knowledge of self, it can't be taught in school. It's taught through your family background, your upbringing, your culture. But if you don't have that, I think it's very important. Phyllis Wheatley, she's been lost in history if she ain't write her own story. And we as Black people or African Americans got to reclaim the narrative on that. And that's how you put yourself back in your main character of your story. Because like the Invisible Man with Ralph Ellison, if you don't tell your story, you'll always be the invisible or marginal character on the sidelines.
So actors, let me ask you this. How did you approach the character of Phyllis Wheatley as well as Mr. Cushman?
Well, with Alexander, when I first read about him, I noticed that he was a very proud man. And so that was the number one thing I had to get. I had to make sure everybody knew that he was proud. Second, when he was the poet, I wanted everybody to know when I read his poems, his scripts, that it was powerful. And most of the things that he talked about was freedom. It's always like it was a message of some point of liberation, And I've noticed that because when the time that he lived in the 19th century, which was the 1800s, his work was under a microscope by authorities. He talked about the Tsar, saying that my work would be censored if I put this public. But he kept on with the mission because he always, even with his skin color, because he was very light-skinned, but he was still a descendant of slaves. People knew that. The Tsar knew that. He talked about his ancestor Hannibal, who was his great-grandfather. Talked about his mother, and it always stayed with him. He never let it go. And so he would write that on his poems about his ancestors, of how badly they were treated. Remember, it was the 1800s, so it wasn't like, even though it wasn't the United States, Russia was still Europe, So he was a very freedom fighter, I guess you would say.
Even back then.
Yeah.
Very good. This, please.
I haven't had the privilege to read any of her writings, but just reading the your writing description. Just reading what you wrote about Mr. Wheatley, she's proud and she takes no stuff. She takes no stuff, and she knows where she came from. And you're not gonna call her a slave, because she's not a slave. She's very intelligent. She learned from the Wheatleys. She learned how to read and write Latin, read. She wrote her own poetry. She is not a dummy. She's very intelligent, and she can hold her own.
She did. And the fact that you did read some of the poetry you did read, because you read it on stage, Yeah, so.
I want to read more.
It's inspiration to do that.
Yes.
Inspiration to do that.
Incidentally, this is African American History Month. It started out as Negro History Week, as all of you know that. You know that Carter G. Woodson was the founder of the organization, and in 1926 initiated Negro History Week. And one of the things that ASALH does annually is puts out a theme to focus our attention during African American History Month. And this year's theme, quite frankly, is migrations, Black migrations. It focuses on the movements of African Americans from one place to another, and the realities of their new destination. And one of the things I saw was going to have the poster contest. And he talked to one young man about this. He had read something about passing.
Oh.
Not just by physical movement, but by social movements. And he said it also includes psychic kinds of movement. He talks about African Americans who had appropriate skin color to pass. He also contrasted that with another African American who was blonde, blue-eyed, but who did not choose to pass in terms of pushing. And also the kind of passage that Phyllis used. It was not a physical skin tone passage, but it was a capacity to be like European American. I thought it was kind of unique that in this month we're talking about black migrations, that we have this movement of people over time traveling in time capsules to meet each other across centuries, across time, to share the moral importance of who you are. That was quite interesting.
Well, it also speaks to the African culture of trickster, shape-shifting, duality. You know, when you wear the mask, Paul Laurence Dunbar, or Du Bois talk about the double consciousness, right? And also, I love the fact how y'all played this, because this should be seen by millennials. Because I looked at when the brother did Alexander Pushkin, he was the blueprint for a rock star. He was a hip-hop artist or a rock star. He was like Prince, Rick James, Tupac. He rebelled against the system like Tupac, Fela Kuti, Bob Marley. You know, he had a white father, he had a white lineage, but he spoke to the black rebellion and liberation. But that's the blueprint for what the artists are today. But a lot of people know it came from a guy like him, who is the father of Russian literature. And how they had the chemistry is kind of around me at times. Ike and Tina, Marvin and Tammy, Jay-Z, Beyonce, you know what I mean? But that's just right. That's the roots of Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison and Zora Neale Hurston. So she's the root of that tree. And we got to know these trees, but we don't know. And that's why we're at a loss right now for people, because we don't know that things came before this. There's a continuity to all.
Interesting how you said Tupac. Tupac, when he would rap, put his lyrics out there, he always talked about that one day, I ain't gonna be there one day. Alexander was kind of similar that way. He wrote this poem called Eugene Onegin. It was a short story. And he talked about a guy who was in a duel over his wife. So that was the same scenario with him. When he talked about Yankees, so I'm going to kill him because he's flirting with my wife.
So that's gangster rap, right?
Yeah, he kind of predicted his own demise. It's like, this is the path that I'm going down.
Like pop.
Interesting enough, he had a dream, Pushkin, and he dreamed that he would be killed by a vice car, which means a white-headed person, a blonde hair. And the Yankees was blonde hair. You know, so there's a lot of things going on that kind of defy logic in a sense, and it's kind of based on imagination. Speaking of imagination, Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Interesting.
And also, y'all, Gemini, Tupac, you know, him, Pushkin, Andre 3000, Prince, Geminis.
There's a picture of Pushkin, and he was short. He was
Right.
short stature. One picture of him that he looked just like Prince. I kept looking at this picture, you know, and his wife was standing here. He was, you know, the top also.
My Lord.
Yeah.
Just the one fact he said Prince.
So,
Y'all picked on Prince.
One final reflection is that these people with huge minds who provide such rich cultural productions end up in the end talented. You know, her last years were rough, hard. Babies died. Everything just poverty. Pushing after all of its salutes, good poetry ends up in the streets.
interestingly enough, too, Pushkin was shot first. But in a duel, if you still survived, you had a shot back. So he was lying in the snow. And I got this from a guy who was from Russia. He was a medical doctor, and he's a historian of Pushkin. talked to him a few years ago. Pushkin kind of propped himself up, aimed, shot. The Yankees had his hand like that. The bullet went through his wrist, hit a button on his coat. Yeah. And so Pushkin's second, person who's like your friend, they call him your second. You know, they're there in case you get hurt or something like that. And so his second took him back to the house, and of course, the house was in an uproar, but he died a few days later. Yeah. And again, Phyllis Wheatley, that was, it was, and yes, and John Peters, the husband, there's a lot of talk about John Peters in terms of the type of person he was. But the last information, there's a guy who's professor emeritus at the University of Maryland, I can't remember his name now. He just wrote a book about Phyllis Wheatley, and he also mentioned John Peters. John Peters had been arrested a couple of times.
In fact, they say he may have been in jail
when she died, because that was a big thing. Where was he? She died, and he was nowhere around, so it seems like he was in jail at the time. And when you really look at it, it seems like John Peters was an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he wasn't a profligate that most people make him out to be. He wanted more out of life, and he was a striver. And he was during that time you didn't have to have a medical degree or a law degree to practice medicine and law. So they called him Dr. Peters because he practiced medicine too. He did a lot of other things. He went to debtor's prison, got out. He and Phyllis ran away from people because they owed him money. Yeah. So it's real interesting to see that. Anybody got any questions about it? Yes.
Thank you for the play. Could you tell us your how you came about to write it?
And pretty much that. I was approached. Well, first of all, I had no idea what Phyllis Wheatley was until the year after I graduated from college, and I went down to Jackson State in Jackson, Mississippi, for the first Phyllis Wheatley Poetry Festival. And that's when Margaret Walker was there. She organized it. So I got a chance to be with all these great female poets, and it was like I was in seventh heaven. I got a picture taken with Nikki Giovanni and Naomi Magid and all these poets, and I just had a great time. And when I said, somebody needs to write something about Phyllis Wheatley. I said, maybe I can write a one-woman show. And I had that locked into my head, but I never could get it like I wanted it. It didn't materialize. Then somebody approached me to write a screenplay on Alexander Pushkin. He had already been to Russia. He knew a lot about Pushkin. I didn't know about Pushkin's African ancestry, so I learned it from him. And as fate would have it, you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I know, I'll put it together. And then when I read the poem, Imagination, I said, that's it. That's the key. That's the through line. Because imagination is what does it all. Yes. Yeah.
I just want to say that you're an excellent actor.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I like the way you took two opposites, a Casanova, a lover, and a religious girl.
Yes.
And a religious family. And on my way, you know, when I guess come or something, I'm going, how's he going to bring this together? And I thought the African heritage served as a link, you know, to bring these two together. And really, I laughed myself to the bathroom. I mean, there were moments of laughter, and this is the truth you said, that you could bring these two opposites together and make it seem so alive and so real to come together through their African heritage.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes.
I just wanted to say that I really appreciated the fact that Hiawatha was then able to come out in her natural hair, that it was a mixture of today and the present and the past, so that young people could also see themselves in this. Because too many times when we do historical work, a lot of times it stays in the history rather than allowing young people to see themselves today. So by having it be imagination and her to imagine that she's dancing with the czar, to imagine all of these things, that we can also imagine the future, which is what we need to see. Young people need to see themselves that there is a rich history, but in that history there is a future.
Thank you, thank you. Well, everybody, thank you so much for coming
I want
out.
to say one thing.
Yeah.
Alexander was a very brave man. The fact that he would, you know, those times they would always do that gentleman's duel. Every time there was an insult, and they're like, wait, calm down, y'all. Like, now he's going all the way. Like, you know what's at stake, right? I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I got to defend my honor, you know. I got to defend my wife's honor, you know. Just, man. I just said, he's a very brave man. I just think it was very tragic the way that it happened.
But at least he had a lot of children and had a lot of other children. But he's a member of the European royal family.
Right.
Now, people don't understand, he's a cousin of Queen Elizabeth, all that other stuff. And also, King George III at the time of the Revolutionary War, his wife, Queen Charlotte, was an octoroon from the House of Mecklenburg.
Right.
Charlotte's named after her. You know, Charlotte in Mecklenburg County, North Carolina.
If you see some of those pictures of Charlotte, you'll say, yes.
Basically black.
Yes, Charlotte, yeah. Very good, very good. Thank you again, everybody.